Hi, this is Jen White from Scrappers Workshop with a new video for you. Today we're going to talk about resizing images. We had a question from a reader on DigiShop Talk asking about how she could resize a large number of images at one time. Her problem was that her camera records images at a very high resolution, so they're very large files, and when she drags them onto her layout, they're huge. And what she has to do is zoom out and find a corner and drag it in, and then zoom back in to work, and it was getting very cumbersome for her. So she asked, wasn't there a better way to do this? And what she didn't know was inside Photoshop they give you the ability to resize an entire folder of images at one time. So I'm going to show you how to do that today in Photoshop Elements 10, and at the end of the video I'll switch over to Photoshop CS5 and show you where to find the same functionality there. It works about the same way. Now the first thing you'll notice is that we don't have to have an image open. What we're going to do is we're going to go to File, Process Multiple Files, and open this dialog box. The first thing in the dialog box is we're going to process files from a folder. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to choose that folder. In my case here, I have in my tutorials folder, I have a folder for high resolution photos. And click OK. You'll see here, I set these up in advance. I have all my high-res photos that I want to resize in one folder, and then I have my empty folder set up for my low-resolution folders. Now you can just use the folder as you save your images off your camera for this one, but do make a new folder to put the low-resolution images in, and you'll see why in a minute. So once we've chosen the folder here for our high-res photos, we're going to look at the destination, and we're going to ask it to put them in that empty folder that we made for the low-res photos. That's why you have to have that file made in advance. Now you'll notice here you have an option of clicking Same as Source, and what this does is it puts the files back where you got them from. The problem with that is it will overwrite your original files, and that could be a problem. So for the most part I don't usually use this. We'll just leave that blank. Now under file naming you can choose to rename the files or not. If you don't, just leave that blank and you can skip this section. If you'd like to rename the files for whatever reason, you can choose from this drop down menu all kinds of different conventions to get different names. Here I've chosen month, day, and year, which is the format that I'm comfortable with dates in, and then a 3-digit serial number. So it'll come out like this with the month, day, and year, and the serial number on the end. And I've told it to start the serial numbers at 1. You, of course, could change that. I have the compatibility set at Windows because that's what I work with, but if you have a Mac, you'd want to click on the Mac OS. Under image size, here's where I tell it what size to resize my images. So I've clicked the box to resize the images. I've set the resolution at 300 dots per inch, which is our print resolution, and that's what most of our papers are made at, so everything will fit comfortably. Then I've asked it to resize these images to a width of 2400 pixels. At 300 pixels per inch, that would be 8 inches. I don't see me using these images much larger than 8 inches per image, so I think that's a good size to use. You'll notice I've left the height blank. The reason is because if I have some vertical images as opposed to the horizontal ones, it might squish or just mess with my images, and I don't want it to do that. So this way the height can vary as long as the width is always 2400 pixels, and because I have the constrained proportions box checked, it will always keep the proportions of the image proper, and I won't have tall, skinny, or short, fat people unless we started out that way. Now under file type, we don't convert the files. You can convert the files to any of a number of different formats, but I'm going to leave it on the default for high quality JPEGs. That works for me. All of this stuff on the right hand side we're going to ignore. That's for a whole nother tutorial. When you're all set, you just press OK and watch it go. Check this out. You'll notice it opens each picture and resizes it and saves it. Way faster than you could ever do. You do get a status bar so you can see how it's coming along, and you know if you have a lot of files in that folder it could take some time, right? Now if we look at our folders, you see there's files in my low-res photos, and when I open it up, if I hover over it, you'll see it's 2400 pixels wide and 1800 pixels tall. The neat part about doing this way is I can now take this folder and maybe drag it onto my desktop and use it for my scrapbooking. And when I'm done scrapping out of that folder, I can delete it. And that way I know what pictures I've scrapped already and what I haven't. Now I promised I'd show you Photoshop. Here in Photoshop, you do the same thing. You go File, and you go to Scripts and Image Processor. And you get a dialog box that is very similar. It asks you to select a folder for the sources and select a folder to save the images in. Here's where you put the resize information. Here I had 1200 pixels, and here you can tell it what quality JPEG. You could ask it to save as a PSD or save as a TIFF here. Then this is other stuff that we're not going to get into this time, and you just click run and it does the exact same thing that you saw happen in Elements. So that's our tutorial on batch image processing and resizing a whole folder of files at one time. You can find this and other videos at scrappersworkshop.com. Come and visit us. Thanks.